Hello, happy Haddonfield. Let's keep it that way. Happy. You were expecting news? Nope. This is old stuff known only to those brave souls who attend Board of Education meetings, which are lately heating up enough that I thought you might be interested in getting a peek into what's happening. Coming up in just a few long minutes of me talking. I attended the Haddonfield Board of Education meeting on May 12th because I had heard the board is going through some tough times. And so it is. This is due mostly to a number of concerned parents venting their understandable misgivings about questionable initiatives being considered by the board. The meeting was crowded, and those doubts and misgivings were made known in no uncertain terms by many residents, mostly outraged parents. You can watch these meetings easily enough by doing a YouTube search. Caveat, the meetings are long and mostly tedious, and both audio and video are woefully inadequate. Perhaps the board will correct this problem in the not too distant future. So, since we have a BOE election coming up in November, you might like to watch the following homemade video clips of highlights from that meeting. And don't forget, to have a truly successful election, we need the proverbial well-informed electorate and activated candidates. 3 in this case. At issue is a number of proposed revisions to Controversial Issues Policy 2240, which, among other considerations, allows for teachers to voice their subjective opinions in the classroom. The things became especially testy during a public litany of objections of these revisions when a resident at the microphone turned to the audience and began lecturing about the need, according to her, for more sex education, which prompted a loud and immediate, "Not my kid," from parents in the audience. That moment pretty much capsulized everything said before and after. One side saying, yes, this needs to be implemented now. The other side saying, not here, not now, not my kid. And it brought the meeting to a standstill. It also brought a reprimand from the presiding officer that decorum must be maintained at all times. The resident at the mic had stated, I treated way too many young women who did not have the knowledge they needed to make wise decisions. And so I ended up having to have the sex talk with them before they went off to college. This is what provoked the sudden outburst, "Not my kid."
When you think about sexual education in 4th grade or whatever grade it is age appropriate, intimate. No, you guys,
Actually, I up until this point, I have been thrilled with the.
Such is the public's reaction to the board's plans to implement certain so-called woke policies into the curriculum. Parents are especially agitated with the thought that their children might be exposed to questionable content. And that resistance is accelerating. Yes, even right here in Halcyon, Haddonfield. Did you hear that? Anyway, and elsewhere too.
Today, I can read every octave of his cry, and mothers and fathers know what I'm talking about. There's that means he's hungry. There's the cry that means angry. The cry that means he's tired. There's the cry where he just wants some that's within his grasp. And you know that very, very distinct cry when he's actually, and you got to race up stairs. You see, when it comes to my son, I am the expert. I am the expert. Okay. I am the expert. Okay. I am the expert. Okay.
Is there any instinct stronger than the maternal instinct to protect her young? So it was no surprise when the pushback came from parents at the meeting in mama bear mode, making plain the fact that this component of wokeism is categorically unwelcome in Haddonfield, that it is imperative for teachers to limit their contact with students to the teaching of authorized subject matter only.
The mama bear fights back with everything in her to protect her offspring, and most times that is a fight to the death. That is actually where the true concept of the mama bear, which we all use colloquially today, it comes from that concept of them fighting to the death for their cubs. And as a result, those of you who live near wildlife will know this. When you see a bear cub anywhere, no matter how cute and cuddly it looks, you do not go near it, right? Because you know somewhere nearby, mama bear is lurking and will take no prisoners.
Well, that's the call of the wild, but it's not much different in the civilized world. Speakers at the BOE microphone made it very clear. And it might be noted, there was barely a single argument made to counter the "not my kid" point. The only argument made in favor of allowing teachers to voice their personal opinions, presented only once or twice, was the suggestion that informal or impromptu discussions in class can foster critical thinking and in-depth analysis. Really? Are teachers generally prepared to teach the high art of Socratic critical thinking, which is a real thing? Which reminds me, I wonder if the district employs a debate specialist. Is there an active debate club where critical thinking skills have been cultivated for generations, according to tradition? Also, there was much talk about how wonderful teachers are, which all agree is indisputable. In fact, a number of attendees, for some unknown reason, came prepared with signs and placards in support of teachers. One speaker at the microphone proudly proclaimed, "My sign says, we trust our teachers." And in fact, the day before the meeting, a local Facebook group had urged its followers, "If interested, the BOE meeting is tomorrow. Please come out to support our teachers and our volunteer BOE members who work so hard." Unfortunately, lately, the loud minority speak at these meetings. Unfortunately. Isn't that a little at odds with the inclusivity talk of the day? What's the point? Fact is, who the heck does not like teachers? And who the heck is the loud minority? Almost every one of the public speakers, no matter their point of contention, expressed support and appreciation of teachers and of the board and of the administration. Clips of these affirmations are in the video coming up in just a few seconds. So what's the point of the placards and all the pro-teacher talk? Should we support teachers merely because they are teachers, regardless of whatever topic they might wander off onto? It's not about teachers. It's about content. It's about teachers staying on track, on curricular track. By the way, the majority of teachers do just that, their jobs, and they do it well and quietly, which is why we're not hearing anything from them. And they know we have their backs. Upshot of it all, actually announced early in the meeting, is that the board has decided to shelve the revisions for the time being. This is good, and it will be good if the whole idea is shelved permanently. And now, on to the meeting excerpts. Thank you, everybody, for your interest, and please continue to keep a watchful eye on our children. And keep an eye on people who want to come too close to our cubs. The future of the world depends on everybody's vigilance. And keep an eye on education too. And remember to vote smart in November. Thank you.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Okay.
Yes.
I knew we'd have a that's exciting. So, Jeff Bogart, I'm a teacher at high school. This is Megan McCarthy from the Two Social Studies, and we're both advisors for the United Nations program. This is Lily Penny. Yeah. So I very impressed.
Favorite part of Monty Money?
Probably that through all of these conferences that I've been to, I've made a lot of friends and like I've made a lot of contact. I might make it.
The best memory from Monty UN this year. My favorite memory of Monty UN was actually Rumen, and I feel the best part of that was
My favorite part so far is the keynote speaker. He talked a lot about his experiences. I really found that be even something that I want to go into in the future.
So it was a really good day. It was really impressed.
And next year is the what?
Others, the greatest, part. So kind of lose that in the virtual world. It's back.
And the statement that was on the policy that talked about the teacher's expression of their opinion that can be done if they frame it that this is their personal opinion. And so we found that kind of piece incongruent and worthy of more discussion. And that's where we engaged our board solicitor about the questions and concerns about it. And he said he'd get back to us, he'd do some research. And that's when we followed up the president of SESME, Joan Castro, informed us that we're currently working on a revised version of that policy. And for us, it didn't make good sense to continue a rather contentious discussion on both sides of the argument when there's a pending new revision coming in that we as a committee want to review and consider.
First, I'd like to preface my comments by saying that disagreeing with the board on certain policies or proposals should never be equated with a lack of recognition or appreciation for the hours volunteer time that you put into this. Expressing concern over how these policies might change the dynamics in some teachers' classrooms shouldn't be equated with a lack of respect, appreciation, or support for the many fantastic teachers that we have in this district. But we do appreciate the work you do, and we thank you. So I want to start with that.
First and foremost, wanted to thank the board and the administration for everything that you do for the students and also the teachers. I feel that teachers are underpaid and overworked, and they deserve the highest regard.
And I appreciate the work that's being done because I know it's hard and difficult work.
I'm here because I value the education my boys have gotten in the school district. I value the teaching that they have received, and I cannot express to you enough how much I value the education that I was given here and how much I value all of the work that you do, the school board, the teachers, everything. The education that I got here was life-changing for me.
Husband and I bought a house here because we value the schools in Haddonfield. That is what brought us to this town, and that's what keeps all of our property values high.
I want to thank you all for serving. I've got an excellent education here. She's got an excellent education here. These
Says we trust our teachers. I think Haddonfield has some of the best, and we're lucky to have them.
When I read this, I thought, why now are we spending our time on this right now? Implementing a brand new policy on renaming our schools. Our students are coming off a 2-year pandemic. They're behind in every academic area, especially math and science. And now we're spending our time setting the stage to have schools renamed.
Improved flow of communication and collaboration amongst the parents, the board, and the school administration.
Parental awareness and sign-off should be a priority starting now. Parents' voices should be included in proposed changes to policy, regulations, and curricula. I know personally that I have emailed over the past 3 years a few different times on controversial issues, and I either got no response, followed up again with no response, and then I've also emailed to ask certain questions about how to get involved, and I was rebuffed. So I want everybody to know that this goes on. We need more transparency, and somehow we need to work with the parents so that they understand what the policy changes are, the regulations, and the curriculum changes. Thank you.
But as I reflect on this mission statement, I want to challenge you to look at this critically, which is part of the mission statement, because I believe the district is failing in its own mission. We have 4 children right now of school age, and we don't feel like it's a safe and respectful environment for our children. We don't feel like this district nurtures, inspires, and empowers our children. We think it puts them in an at-risk environment. So we've chosen not to the school district right now because it's failing in its own mission. So I think I would challenge the board as they're looking at policies and curriculum to understand if you're following your own mission, I think words like safe and respectful should be considered in a mission statement, not words such as taking risks, because you're taking risks with our children as you implement these policies and curriculum that are treading on very thin ice and dealing with very controversial issues, which may be more appropriate to deal with in the house.
So through the grapevine, I don't know the codes, what's being talked about, but some of this verbiage that may come up in some of the curriculum is disgusting. Some is very frightening for me. So real quickly, are you going to be talking to these young kids as early as 4th grade about illicit sex, masturbation, mutual masturbation, same sex? I just need to know, because I think the parents really are here because they're ramping up to ask these questions at one point. I've heard through the grapevine that you are going to be speaking about this. I've heard that you're not. And I think it needs to be cleared up.
40 years. I'm not sure if you've been following social media. I actually hope that you have not. But I post that the one that has everyone here tonight. And they were talking about how it referred to CRT and LGBTQ, which it did not. It only spoke of the topic of teachers being allowed to insert their opinions into their lessons despite what other people thought they read. I have 2 short stories that I think will help everyone understand my hesitancy with what was being presented with that policy. The first story was pre-pandemic, so like 100 years ago. One of my children was in a class where the entire class was asked to raise their hand and share their practiced religion. The class was fairly diverse, but most landing Christian, specifically Catholic. And when a student then asked the teacher if that's what she practiced, referencing Christianity, she replied, and I quote, "Oh my God, no, it's all stupid. It's just ridiculous." Now, I know that's not all Haddonfield teachers, and I think it's fair to say it's not most of them, but the fact that it is some of them. Most of my experience with our teachers has been stellar, but allowing teachers' opinions to be included in their lessons, knowing the power of their authority and sometimes admiration their students hold for them, is not okay. Teachers should be teaching and, of course, nurturing, but sharing their opinions, their political views, or what they think about a student's faith or gender identity does not belong in a classroom setting. It is over the line and completely unacceptable. I'd like to think that both sides represented here tonight can agree on at least that. I know in my place of employment, if I venture to say there are a lot of places of employment, should I share my opinion on certain matters, I would be fired. And just like myself, teachers are hired for their skill, not their opinions. Finally, if I can quickly share my biggest concern, and it's not on tonight's agenda, but I've been scrubbing through the sex ed curriculum, and I want to be clear that this is not just about homosexuality, but sexuality in general. My husband and I work fiercely to protect our children's minds and hearts, to allow them a chance to simply be a kid in today's upside down world of hate and division. They're too young to carry load, and I cannot and will not have anyone impose upon them what they think is best for my children. No one knows what is best for them better than my husband and I do. And I can assure you that teaching them sex ed at an inappropriately young age, before their brain is even able to effectively process it, is not in their best interest. Thank you. And I sincerely appreciate your service to this town and for hearing me out this evening. I hope you will not take lightly the impact of your decisions.
Now, they might want to change the word from controversial to objectionable, because that's the issue, that there are many people who object to these issues being even brought up. And then I would shorten the policy, if I ruled the world, I would shorten the policy to ban objectionable issues in classroom discussions. Just ban that. These kids are here to learn subject matter. And there's plenty of subject matter that they could be taught instead of discussing these important issues, because they're not important issues. They're objectionable issues, and they're important only to a small number of individuals.
My sign says we trust our teachers. I think Haddonfield has some of the best, and we're lucky to have them. And I would hate to see any sort of muzzle on the fabulous work they do with our kids.
Council meeting, right? And there's just so many things on the agenda that the school seems to need to be dealing with. And I support the fact that really it's about the education that the kids need to have to go forward. That doesn't mean you exclude things. It doesn't mean you don't have controversial conversations about things, but they have a place and they have a priority. And right now, we're upside down. If you can envision a pyramid, we've turned it upside down, and the smallest of things get the most direct and emotional attention. So I really think that we need to be focused on where our kids and what our kids are going to be learning and what they're going to be taking forward. By the way, they're smarter than we think they are. They get a lot of the stuff that happens. And this lady is talking about her child at an age that has to do with sexuality issues. I think we really need to rely on the parents for those kinds of things. And whatever that appropriate age happens to be, I'm not the one to determine that, but clearly this audience in large measure happens to be. So focus on the things that are going to be getting them places in life, not teaching them sex ed and all kinds of other things at an age that is really difficult for them and their minds, which aren't even fully developed, to be able to sort through.
This motion and feel it is inappropriate to have teachers influencing students in such a way. I of course do not expect an answer. I would just like to propose it. The school district has mandated policies in place which teachers must adhere to in order to keep their tenure. How would a situation be handled when a teacher speaks an opinion which contradicts a district initiative or policy? So I would just ask the board to consider that when doing the revisions in the next couple weeks. And just keep in mind how students just idolize their teachers. So especially at the younger age, they want to dress like them if they wear a new dress. They want a car if they have a cool car. So just keep in mind that while you're reviewing your policy. Thank you so much for your time.
The reason why I'm speaking is twofold. One, I presume that one of the controversial topics is racism and the way we teach history in our country. I recall learning about slavery and then learning nothing until Martin Luther King. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that happened and a whole bunch of laws that were passed, which continue to drive the profound disparities that we see. For instance, we now know that the reason why Black mortality and morbidity for mothers and for infants is due to racism. It's due to the daily racist experiences that they have. And having grown up in a white bubble, which is Haddonfield, which I do love because I'm still here, it took me years to understand the experience that people of color go through in this country. It was only by immersing myself in a community of color that I was finally able to see their full humanity, because I wasn't exposed to it. And I'm a geek about neuroscience, and what you're exposed to wires your brain. So I commend you for the path that you're on and in full support. With regard to sexual education, my Girl Scouts, 4 of whom earned their gold awards, did not, the only sex ed they got in the 90s, actually early 2000s, was one 6-week online course junior year of high school. I took it upon myself because as a primary care nurse practitioner, I treated way too many young women who did not have the knowledge they needed in middle school and in high school to make wise decisions. And so I ended up having the sex talk with them before they went off to college. And let me tell you, I was recently thanked at a wedding for that. But why was that my response? And when you think about sexual education in 4th grade or whatever grade it is age appropriate, intimate. No, you guys,
actually, I, up until this point, I have been thrilled with the civility and the discourse. So everyone should get their turn and maybe please direct your comments toward us and let's continue to be respectful of each other because we all want to hear what everybody else has to say.
I'm from West Cottage Avenue. I was never planning to talk tonight, but I will speak because there were some things that I've heard today and I have comments about. I'll start with saying that I'm a legal citizen, legal immigrant, became citizen in 2013 here in the United States. I came back almost 17 years ago. When I came here, I found out a lot of people, Americans, born and raised here, don't know about the United States Constitution, laws, and everything the way I've learned. I had to teach a lot to get that people to understand some stuff. So I came here and I love this country. I love it because of the Constitution, which unfortunately I see recently a lot being torn, stepped upon, and disrespected because people don't understand the history behind it. And this has led me to the next step. As a teachers, for history, we are not supposed to defend history. We're supposed to teach it so we can learn from it. We're not supposed to give our opinions about it because it's not our space and place to do so. We're supposed to teach the kids so they will know and learn, and this is our lesson learned for the future, what we should be aware. One of the things that I've heard also from parents and others here, history was learned here as a bubble. So you come and learn only about the slavery and the Civil War, then you learn only on Martin Luther King. Or if you learn about the Holocaust, you learn everything is in a bubble. You never had the continuous of a timeline, and people don't understand what led to it. When I had to come and teach my daughter what it means actually and how it happens that Hitler had that much power, what he did to get to that much power, and how come people went so blindly behind him. And then I saw it in the last 2 years happen the same thing. People don't pay attention to details that are very important for our kids to learn. And that's why it's not in my opinion, teachers to state their opinion. I came from a country where politics is every single night on the table, and we always converse, and everyone in Israel has a different opinion. I had a great teacher for history who used to say, there's a one Jew, and on every Jew, you have seven different opinions, because this is how it is. Life is like that. We have many differences in opinion, even between ourselves, but we always respected it, and political discussions were always everywhere. But teacher never stated even one time their opinion. They were the moderator of a discussion, but they were never there to state their opinion. And if there was something that needs to be addressed, it was always bringing some outsiders from all the variety of the opinion in the country. And that's how you're going to let them know. You let them see, because one of the other parents indicated here correctly, teachers has authority in class. And that is taking advantage over our kids if they're stating an opinion. Some kids will not have the guts, the spine to come and stand up and say their opinion. I have a daughter who will, but I have a son who won't. And I don't want that to come to my kids, that they will feel fearful to state whatever they feel about. Yes.
Your 3 minutes is up. You are more than welcome to come back to the podium after everyone else has had a
I'm sorry?
The 3 minutes is up, but
Okay.
you can come back if after everyone else has had a chance. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was asked to read an email that some friends of mine wrote to the board. So this is the body of their email. I'm delivering on their behalf because they couldn't be here tonight.
I attended the World Cafe, sponsored by the Haddonfield Equity Council. And at the cafe, there was a QR code to become a member of the private Facebook page, Haddonfield Equity Coalition. Many in the room, along with some of these board members, are a part of this private Facebook page. Someone in this room felt empowered to go to my own private Facebook page, screenshot my personal opinion that teachers should not be able to share their personal opinions on controversial issues in the classroom, and then proceeded to post my name and post to that Facebook group. Yeah. By the way, it all gets back to me. Just so you know, I know who you are. The response posts that I have seen from people in this room and this town are deplorable. I'm an adult and I have to deal with the consequences of sharing my own opinion on my own page with the ruthless ones in this room. How then do you expect a student in this school district with the endorsement and power of words made by their teacher's own opinion on a controversial issue to be able to share their own opinion in a class or on their own Instagram page? While there is anti-bullying in place to stop bullying for these kids, perhaps on social media, how difficult will it be when they're bullied in other ways? Because you've already shown the results of what will happen.
Well, there it is, fellow Haddonfielders.
Well, that it is. Well, that it is. Well, it is. Well, that it is. Now, that it is.
Now that you've had a peek at where most of your tax dollars are going, I hope you'll join in the effort to help guide the board in providing the top-notch education we all love to brag about. Don't we all love to brag about Haddonfield? The board prefers hearing from you by way of email. Already, many are writing. Email addresses can be found easily enough. Let them hear from you individually or en masse. And please do carbon copy your friends and neighbors who might be interested. Parents especially need our support. Needless to say, this is all for the well-being of our children. Things won't get better until John Q. Public weighs in, now and in November. We have an important election coming up, and we need thousands of clear-headed voters, and we need at least 3 stalwart candidates to step up, ready, willing, and able to take the lead in making things right with Haddonfield's treasured school district. We can overcome the odds and the oddballs if enough of us step up one way or the other. If you can't run, then vote. And thank you for watching.